What if I were to tell you that there was one indispensable behavioral science technique that would totally change the way you share customer comments within your company? One very special thing that could make their use massively more effective in lowering employee churn, raising CSAT scores, basically everything you get paid to make happen. This week, best self-activation. You've probably heard of this concept of best self-activation. I always like to say it sounds like something you'd find in the self-help section of your neighborhood bookstore, but the business science behind it is just incredibly powerful. It's absolutely key in addressing one of the main weak points that most voice of the customer programs have, which is how do you really move the needle in changing employee behavior at the edges of the organization, right where they meet the customer? How do you do that? I'm going to do three things today. First, explain what is best self-activation. Second, show you how the researchers behind this concept proved it. Third, give you a hands-on practical example of how we are starting to use this concept to drive radical change at the edges of organizations. Okay, so first, what is best self-activation? The first time I ever heard of it was in this Harvard Business Review white paper. It hit my radar because two of the four researchers behind it, Dr. Daniel Cable and Dr. Francesca Gino, are people I follow pretty regularly. Here it is in a nutshell. Every one of us carries around this concept of self, right? Your idea of self has a whole lot to do with what you think makes you special, traits that you're uniquely good at, right? This may be a little bit awkward, but for the sake of the exercise, I'll share with you some things that I think I'm good at. I think that I am creative. I am willing to be different, especially if it's in pursuit of an idea that I think has merit, that I believe in. I am good at explaining things, and I think I'm a pretty good listener, too. These are some of the things that make me, me. Think about the type of feedback we share with each other. If you are my boss, you might share all kinds of feedback with me, and you would certainly share what my customers are saying, what my employees are saying. You'd share exactly those types of things. But it turns out that there's one very specific class of feedback that is uniquely powerful. Examples of where I make uniquely special contributions using any one of these traits that make me, me, that are examples of me being my best self. If you can share that specific category of feedback with me, that specific type, you'll get remarkable changes in my behaviors, in my outcomes. You'll get measurable improvements in my emotions, in my resistance to disease, in my resilience against stress and burnout. You'll also see improvements in my creative problem solving, in my performance when I'm under pressure, and even in my relationship with you, my employer. So how did Dr. Cable and Dr. Gino and their colleagues at Harvard, University of London, and the University of Michigan prove this? Well, they did a number of studies where they wired people up to biometric devices. They followed them through their work history and their performance history over like a year. But the study that really stuck with me was performed with groups of onboarding employees in a call center. And they divided these onboarding employees into two groups. Both groups, A and B, got the same training, but at the end of the training, Group A received kind of a typical presentation on, kind of a briefing on the company's values and things like that, something pretty typical that you would expect. But Group B got exposed to these best self stories. They were asked what traits define them as people, right? At their best. And then they were shared backstories. The researchers went and talked to people who knew them, got stories of them at their best, and shared those stories back to these employees. The outcomes were remarkable. Group B demonstrated measurable improvements in their resistance to disease, fewer sick days. They also showed a resilience to stress and burnout, resulting in lower employee churn. And last but not least, Group B employees showed demonstrably higher customer satisfaction scores. Let's just say you run a call center, right? And you've got 1,000 employees or something. If you're reducing churn by even a little bit, that's a lot of money. Some of you may recall last season when I was joined by Aaron Van Remortel and Carrie Cusimano from Verizon. And at one point I asked Aaron, hey Aaron, how much does it cost to train a new call center employee to the point where they so much as like know how to tie their own shoes? This is what she said. That's a lot of money. So you can imagine if you're even just saving 10 or 20 employees a year, that's $500,000 or $1 million in budget you just saved your organization. All right, so how are we putting this to work? Many of you know Customerville, you know our concept of design-driven feedback, our products, you follow our work. You know, we talk a lot about this concept of moving to being what we call a curated feedback enterprise. And this is just a really good basic example of it. Let me show you how we're looking at this. For like 15 years, we've been helping companies put dashboards and push email reporting into the hands of their frontline employees so that they could make sure those employees know what's happening in the customer experience. We're pushing KPIs, we're pushing customer comments, all kinds of good stuff like that. But today we're going to ask you, what if you did that a little bit differently? Our surveys are uniquely good at getting lots and lots of comments and photos and things like that. What if you applied best self principles to selecting which of those comments you expose to your employees? What would that look like? Well, we'd start by asking every employee what traits make him or her special. We could do that when we hire them, or if they log into a dashboard or something like that, we could take that opportunity to ask what traits make you special. In this case, our hypothetical employee, Anna, says that she's defined by honesty, empathy, being an advocate, being patient, and being comforting. Those are the things that Anna says makes her her. She carries those traits with her in her consciousness all the time, including at work. Now that we know those things, we can set the text analytics engine and the photo analytics engine that run in the background of our software, right, to comb through all of the flow of comments coming through about Anna and service only those that are effusively positive, but also map directly to her best self traits that she told us were important to her. The software then builds those stories up into an automated push email report that goes directly to her, celebrating her unique best self stories. That should go out to her individually, but it also goes out to all of her colleagues, everyone in the organization, individually tailored for them. This seems simple, but I don't want you to underestimate how powerful this is. The research showed that employees exposed to even 1 hour of this type of feedback showed demonstrable, measurable improvements in their work performance on all of the things I just told you about for 6 months. 1 hour of time invested in this yielded 6 months of improved performance. Isn't that incredible? Okay guys, if you like this, do me a favor and hit the little like button on LinkedIn and share this with people. We produce 40 Billion Reasons because we want to spread word of Customerville and our unique approach to customer experience, voice of the customer, and this idea of design-driven feedback. And I need your help to do that. So if you like what you saw today and you like any of our vlog or what we do, I'd love it if you'd share that. I could really use your help on that. And in the meantime, we'll see you next week where we're going to be talking about one of my very favorite subjects, somatic marker hypothesis. We're going to show you what is going on in your body that makes it so that emotions drive the vast majority of decisions that you make. You cannot be in customer experience if you don't understand how people are making decisions and the incredible power that emotions have. Along the way, we're going to introduce you to a personal hero of mine who said this: it is wrong to think that only minds can think. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.